Hello and welcome to the Dv Sports and Gaming podcast. I almost said broadcast like Dv Macho does, but yeah, Dv Sports and Gaming podcast here with Sam, Dv Slasty. It's going to be a solo up again, just a quick pop-up one. This one I'm excited to do, so I'm going to do a little series here coming up, and it's baseball related. So if you're a baseball fan, tune into this one. What I'm going to start doing here for you guys, just something to peek into, is as this season goes along, this list would probably change, but I'm just going to do it with where players are at currently. So what I'm doing is I'm going to create a top 8 players by position that I would want right now based on current season stats and abilities. And I'm sure by the end of the season, this list won't make any sense. But as of right now, 5, 15, 23, this list is going to make sense. So I'm going to start at second base because second base is my favorite position in baseball. I grew up playing that all the time, and it's just seemed like the right place to start when I was having this idea. So what we're going to do is top 8 second basemen. I'll go from 8 to 10, and I'll kind of give you why. I'll go over their stats. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So without any further ado, we'll jump right into that. So, coming in at number 8 on the list is going to be Gleyber Torres from the New York Yankees. So, the only thing that scared me off of Gleyber Torres was just his WAR. So, I have a bunch of stats saved. I'm going to look at this. So, Gleyber Torres' WAR is terrible. It's 0.4. So, I mean, he's like maybe slightly above average as far as wins above replacement. He's above 0, but just barely. For an example of a great WAR, Marcus Semien has a 2.4 wins above replacement, and that's the best one. Little hint to maybe something later. But anyways, we got Gleyber Torres. His WAR was 0.4. That's the only thing that really made him come in at number 8. Gleyber Torres, I don't think of as like, you think of second baseman, you think of somebody who's good with the glove, solid defense, and he's good with the glove. He's got a little bit different flair, but he also makes some errors. So I don't have his errors pulled up for the season, but I know from watching some of the games that he makes errors here and there, which everybody does, but I think his is maybe not quite as tight. I could be wrong on that, but as far as offensive stats, which is really what I'm looking at for this, Gleyber Torres is decent. I mean, he's number 12 in batting average. So I pulled up stats that I think are important for every position, but also for second base in particular, like what you think of when you want a second baseman. So first thing I looked at was batting average. His average is a 250, which in today's game is not terrible. That might be a little low for a second baseman in my opinion, but 250 is serviceable. And then next thing I looked at was runs, because if you're a second baseman, generally you're a quicker guy and you're at the top of the lineup. That's not always true. There's different types of builds for second base, but generally I would say that's kind of what you look for. And Gleyber Torres, his run total, let's see. Gleyber Torres' runs is at 24 runs this season. 24 runs is 5th right now on the list for second baseman. So he is scoring runs. He's getting hits, 1 out of 4 at bats. Let's see what else I got here. Home runs, he's 6th with 6 home runs. So Gleyber Torres is offensively, he's hitting right in the middle here of everything. He was a little low on average. Let's see what I got here. OPS, which is on base plus slugging percentage. He's number 7. So I have him 8 on the list. OPS seemed to hit this list pretty good for me as far as just like, am I looking at the right guys? When I came to OPS, it seemed to just point me in the right direction for guys that are just in the mix when they need to be. So Gleyber Torres had a 790 OPS, which put him at 7th. That's pretty good. OPS. If you're right around 800 or better, you're having a solid season. So, which is impressive. His on base percentage is 345 when he's only hitting 250, which means he's taking some walks, which is solid. Let's see what else we got here for Glaber. I think that's pretty much it. So he's 7th in OPS. I don't know what he's at in WAR. Not anything super high. Let me see. Yeah, I don't even have him on the top 17 in WAR, but I think that's because the Yankees are struggling a little bit. So like they aren't just winning a whole bunch compared to some of these other teams. And that's not all that's included in WAR. I mean, some of these teams that are players that have a good WAR may not be on a better. They may not have a better record than the Yankees, but everything else I feel like backs up him as the 8th spot. Could have gone a lot of different ways. I'm not going to do an honorable mention because I don't really have that prepared. So, number 8, Gleyber Torres. Claps for Gleyber and the Yankees. Hopefully they can get their season going a little bit better. They're kind of struggling. Number 7, maybe a player you haven't heard of before, Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte from the Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll start with average. Ketel Marte is hitting 264. So a little bit better in the average department than number 8, Gleyber. Ketel Marte is solid on average, better than what you would kind of expect for nowadays, but not quite as good as you would expect for maybe a second baseman. And then we have for his run total so far this year, let's see. Ketel Marte has scored 23 runs. So he is 6th, right behind Gleyber. Gleyber had 24. He is 23. Ketel Marte. The other thing about Ketel Marte is he is a switch hitter, which is nice. So I always feel like there's like an extra little bonus for a guy who can switch it. Just helps keep the opposing team's pitching on edge. You can't really, work around a switch hitter very well. So we got average at 264, 23 runs scored. Home runs. He has hit 5 home runs, which is number 8 on the home run list for a second baseman. So, I mean, he's above top 10 in home runs. That's decent pop for a second baseman, and he's a switch hitter. So there's that. Let's see what his on base percentage is. Ketel Marte on base percentage is 331. So he has a little bit lower on base percentage than Gleyber, which means he's just not walking quite as much. But 331 is decent when you're hitting 264. So OPS. So Ketel Marte's OPS is 797. So that puts him at 6th. So far I have the number 7 OPS and number 6 OPS, but these guys are number 8 and 7 on my list. So I don't necessarily think OPS is everything, but it should be accounted for. Maybe for different positions, you want that higher, like maybe first base or third base, you want OPS might really tell the story fully. But number 6 in OPS, Ketel Marte for second baseman, is 797 on his OPS for the year. And his WAR is 1.1, which is 9th on the list for second baseman. So with that, you can kind of see where I'm getting at. He's doing maybe slightly better than Gleyber is. A little bit better average, a little bit better OPS, just barely. So, you get in these top players and it's like, it gets tight. It gets tight. So there's my bottom 2 of my list, 8 and 7, which is great players. Gleyber Torres and Ketel Marte's players that I would want today so far. Number 6, second baseman. If you haven't heard of this guy, he's pretty young, but having a great year so far, is Nico Horner. I have him at number 6. I feel like he's kind of more of a prototypical second baseman, what you expect to see from that position. So we'll start at his batting average, just to keep it consistent. So Nico Horner right now is 3rd in batting average at 303. He's only one of 3 second basemen hitting over 300 right now. So That's what you expect from a second baseman, in my opinion. 280 to 300. That's getting it done at second base. He's scoring runs. He's number 4 on the runs totals for second baseman at 25, which is 1 more than Glaber and 2 more than Ketel Marte. So it tells you how close these guys are to in their performance level. Nico Horner, let's see where he's at in home runs. I don't think he's a super big power guy. Yeah, he's hit 2 home runs. I mean, that's serviceable. That's kind of like prototypical second baseman, what you expect. Make more average, a little less pop. He's scoring runs. I think for home runs, he's outside like top 15 probably. Yeah, he's outside top 15 for home runs. All right, let's see what else we got here. OPS. So what's his OPS? Since he's not slugging really, let's see what he's doing to get on base. Right on the OPS list, he is number 9 with a 742 OPS. So because of his batting average and on base percentage, he's still up there pretty high on OPS, but he is below Gleyber Torres and Ketel Marte on OPS. But he's scoring runs and has a better average. He's a quick player. His defense is really good. So Nico Horner, that's why I have him above those guys. He's a little bit more prototypical for the position, maybe a little bit less of a slugger, and I'm okay with that. I kind of like that. He's fast. Let's see what his WAR is. Nico Horner's WAR is 1.5, which is the 6th WAR, and I have him 6th on my list. So there you go. It is what it is. All right. Let's move on to number 5. Number 5 for second baseman. Right now, based on performance, I would take Jonathan India. I thought about putting him higher, but I just could not ignore the stats of one of these other guys. So Jonathan India came in at number 5. I think he's just got some flair, and he's really like what I think about when I think of a second baseman. He's got, let's see what his average is. We'll go there. So Jonathan India's average was 295, almost 300. He's right there behind Nico Horner at number 4 in average. And if I haven't said this already, he plays for the Cincinnati Reds. Jonathan India does. He, I believe he won Rookie of the Year when he was first coming into the league. So he's been a pretty good player ever since he's been in pretty quickly. His runs so far for the season is 31, and that is 2nd. So he's 2nd in runs, and he's 4th in average. Great production for second baseman. So let's look at his home runs. Jonathan India home runs. He has 3 home runs. So kind of like Nico Horner, a little more speed guy, a little more scoring, maybe not as much pop. But I will say helping his slugging percentage is doubles. I didn't really count doubles a whole lot, but I think is leading or tied for the lead in doubles for second baseman. He has 12, which is a lot already. That's great. And that'll bump up your slugging a little. So looking at home runs, he only had 3. And OPS, Jonathan India, his OPS is 826 right now. And a lot of that's because of his slugging at 438, but that's because he's hitting doubles, maybe not so much home runs. And then his average is good. It's 295. On base is almost 400. It's 387. So Jonathan India is getting it done this year. His WAR, let's see what his WAR is. His WAR is 1, even though the freaking team he's on, it sucks. So he's arguably, could go higher. He arguably could be higher. I have one of these guys, and I'm kind of second guessing where I got him a little bit, but I'm just going to keep it, So I got number 4, Jonathan India, or number 5 is Jonathan India. We'll go on to number 4. And honestly, I don't know much about this guy other than the fact that he's on the tops of these lists and needs to be on here. And I kind of need to pop into the Giants a little more. We're going to go there. So the San Francisco Giants, Tyro Estrada for the San Francisco Giants He's just on the freaking list everywhere. I don't want to put this guy on the list. I don't know who he is, but he's freaking getting it done. So he forced his way onto the list that he doesn't care about at all. But anyway, so Thairo Estrada, he came in at number 4 for me. Maybe he should be higher. I kind of wanted to put India above him, but I just couldn't because of his stats. So his average so far in the season is 314, which is second on the list for second baseman. And then let's see, Thairo Estrada has 26 runs, which is third. So he's second in average, third in runs. Let's see, Thairo Estrada is also sixth in home runs. He has 6 home runs. So top 6 in everything so far. And OPS, he is second in OPS right now with an 854 OPS. That is freaking solid for a second baseman. And his WAR is 1.5. So, I mean, you talk about guys that are getting it done. Thairo Estrada for the San Francisco Giants is killing it. Like I said, I don't know much about him. I haven't got to watch him play very much. I watch a lot of AL East, so it's hard to catch the San Francisco Giants. But I got the MLB app, so I'll tune in and see what he's doing, man. I don't know what kind of flair he has or anything like that to talk on, but as far as just the numbers go, and you look at his stats, dude's top 3, top 4 second baseman. I got him at top 4, so he's number 4 on my list. Number 3. This guy could maybe be lower, but his slugging and power is just so damn good that I had to put him number 3, and that's Ozzie Albies. Ozzie Albies came in at number 3, and we'll look into his stats to tell you why. So he's hitting 259, which is a little bit better than Glaber. Like I said, that's kind of what you expect in today's game. I feel like he's more of today's style second baseman of what you would expect than maybe the prototypical second baseman. He's a small guy, but this dude does not swing like he's small. He's a switch hitter with pop from both sides. Batting 259 for the Braves, the Atlanta Braves, if I haven't said that. Let's look at his runs. So he's hitting home runs. Let's see what his runs are. His runs are 17 runs. So a little bit lower, right? Because maybe he's not on base as much, but he does hit home runs, so he's scoring. But 17, that's 14th on the list. That's pretty low for a second baseman on this top. I mean, I have him at number 3, right? So that's where I was like, maybe I have Albies too high, but I don't know. Let's look at the rest of it, right? But then I look at this. He's number 1 in home runs at 10 home runs. Next closest guy is 7. I mean, he's just a lot of these guys, like number 8 in home runs is 5. He's got double that in home runs. He's got 29 RBIs. I mean, he's got a different kind of pop to his swing. Maybe I wish he could. I mean, he's hitting 260 basically. He's not terrible. What the problem I think I'm seeing right here with Albies is maybe he's not very selective with his swinging because his on base percentage is only 298 and his average is 259. So he's not taking very many walks. Maybe that's something he could work on. Yeah, that would probably help his OPS a lot, make me feel a little bit better about this. But after looking at this, maybe Albies is too high on my list. But this is my list, and we're going with it. And I put him here because of today's game, right? Today's game, you want these guys. In today's game, they gotta have pop and they gotta be hitting home runs. That's the game they play. But I will say with that, they want them to be on base. They want them taking walks too. So he's got to work on that. But he's number 3 on my list for that. 10 number 1 in home runs with 10, which is a big gap from the rest of the second baseman. And his OPS, let's see where he's at. He's 5th in OPS at 804. He could easily have like almost a 900 OPS if he would just take some goddamn walks. He only has 7 walks. Like, for an example, Thairo Estrada has 36 walks to Albies 7. So if this dude just took some walks, he'd have a 900 OPS probably. So if anybody can tell that to Albies, Junior, will you talk to Albies and let him know to fucking walk a little? All right, there we go. Ozzie Albies. And what is his WAR? Let me see what his WAR is. 1.1 WAR. So, I mean, solid WAR. Nothing crazy there. But Albies, I have him at number 3. Maybe controversial, maybe not. When you dig into his stats, but I just can't get past the home runs for him. He's just such a threat to score. Any game you can win by 1 run, and that he's got a pretty good shot at hitting one out. So, all right, let's look at this number 2. Any guesses? Number 2. Anybody get a guess? All right. Number 2 is Luis Arias from the Miami Marlins. And this is like a Sam pick because I just love this guy. He is the prototypical second baseman, in my opinion. Um, Batting average, number 1 at 382. Are you kidding me? God, like that's just ridiculous. 382, number 1. And he's 70 points better in average than the next closest, which is Tyro Estrada at 314. He's hitting 382. So the guy just freaking hits, man. He's almost, yeah. I mean, that speaks for itself. Runs, let's see where he's at in runs. I think his runs are low. I guess he's just not getting hit around. His runs is only 14, which I don't think I have him on my runs totals here. Yeah, he's out of the top 15 for runs scored, but he's on base, so he should be scoring runs. And he's not super slow or anything, so I think that's just more of his team not hitting him in. But he's doing his job, and he's on first base a lot at least. So there he is in runs. Let's look at home runs. So home runs for Luis Arias, he has 1 home run. So not the same pop as you're getting from some of these other guys, but he is getting hits and getting on base. So 1 home run, I'll take that when you're batting 382, right? That's kind of prototypical, like I said earlier, of a second baseman. So the crazy thing with him is, even though he does have the low home run total, his OPS is still number 1 for second baseman at 908. So you think of on base plus slugging, you think of guys that are hitting home runs, slugging, doubles, triples, and Luis Arias has 7 doubles, which is about average, top end average for doubles. He has 1 home run, and he has a 908 OPS. This dude's killing it because he's hitting for average. He's hitting for average. And he's only walked 13 times. So he's walking, but he's hitting a lot of balls to get on base. I mean, that's what it is, The dude's getting it done. Number 1 in OPS, number 1 in average. You're gonna come in at number 2 on my list. His WAR is 1.6 on a not great Marlins team. They're decent, but not like awesome like some of these other guys' teams. So number 1 on the list, there's only one guy left. I feel like that maybe you guys know, maybe not. Paul, this is going to freaking hit you like a truck from behind, like you never saw it coming. Marcus Semien is number 1. Based on how the game is going right now, how people are playing right now, his batting average is 288, which is kind of exactly what I expect for a second baseman. 288, that number specifically. Runs, he's got 35 runs, which is number 1 in second baseman. I don't know if I said his average is number 6 at 288. Number 1 in runs at 35. Number 3 is 26, so almost 10 more runs than the number 3 guy. India is right there at 31, but Marcus Semien's number 1 on runs scored. Home runs, he's number 2 at 7 home runs. So just to put this in perspective, like Brandon Lau is not on my top 8. Maybe some people would expect him to be, but he's got 7 home runs just like Semien, but he's freaking batting 189 batting average. And Marcus Semien is batting 288. Like, that's why Brandon Lau's not on here. Sorry. And that's why Semien's number 1, man. He's hitting average and 7 home runs. All right, so he's got 34 RBIs, which is ridiculous. Number 1 in that, I'm sure. And let's look at his OPS. So Marcus Semien's OPS is 851. So he's got 23 walks. which is good. And he's hitting some home runs. So there you go. Marcus Semien, 851 OPS, and his WAR is 2.4, which is the number one WAR for second baseman currently. Yeah, so that's the list, man. And that's going to be the episode. That's all I got for you guys. If you have any joy coming from this, please let me know. If you know me personally, reach out, send me a message. What should I do next? What position should I do next? I think I'm going to finish the infield first. So I might maybe I go shortstop. Shortstop seems like it'd be a fun one, right? Maybe we do that. Let me know if you guys want to hear something else, but that's what I'm going to plan on for now. And that's your top 8 second basemen for right now, currently, who I want playing for my teams. We'll read it. Read the list one more time. Number 1, Marcus Semien. Number 2, Luis Arias. Number 3, Ozzy Albies. Number 4, Thairo Estrada. Number 5 is Jonathan India. 6, Nico Horner. Number 7, Ketel Marte. And number 8, Gleyber Torres. So, if you guys are looking out for good second basemen, watching baseball, there you go. Those are guys to watch right now. Thanks. Peace. We will see you guys next time. We just wanted to say thanks again, everybody, for listening to this episode of the DV Sports and Gaming Podcast. With that said, we wanted to give you guys a proper outro. Here we go.
All right, guys. So please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We have DV Sports and Gaming for Instagram. Our TikTok is DV Sports Gaming, and our YouTube is DV Sports and Gaming. We post all kinds of videos, all kinds of clips, sports related, and also just gaming clips. So please subscribe and follow.
And don't forget to utilize our social medias to interact with us and give feedback on the podcast and content that we create. We want to build a community around sports and gaming with our fans and listeners. And as always, guys, thanks for listening to the DV Sports and Gaming Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.